Welcome back to Toffee Booze, your source for all things Everton. I'm Ollie Hayes, and today I'm bringing you the starting 11 show for Everton versus Nottingham Forest on Sunday at Goodison Park. Let's get straight into it. Obviously, a very tough game. Nottingham Forest currently sit third in the Premier League table. They're on a very good run of form, so it's going to be a very tough game at Goodison. But fingers crossed we can keep our pretty decent run going in the league. Obviously, we've picked up three draws in a row now against Chelsea, Arsenal, and Manchester City. All three very, very difficult opponents, but likewise, I think Nottingham Forest are going to come and give us a very big test at Goodison. But we'll start in goal with Jordan Pickford, and we have to talk about his penalty save against Manchester City, don't we? To deny Erling Haaland, he's a large reason of why we've been so good on this run, and why we've been able to grind out these 3 points against difficult teams. So it's no doubt in my mind that Sean Dyche is going to use Jordan Pickford in this one, and there's not really a lot more to say about Jordan Pickford. He's just fantastic. We saw once again against Manchester City the reason why he's England's number one, and he's just such a good player and so vital to us. But moving into defence, I'm going to start with left back, and I do think Ashley Young will be given the nod at left back. Give Mikalenko a little bit of a break after a quite a difficult outing against Manchester City. Obviously, gave away the penalty, pretty lucky not to be sent off, and then obviously was caught all at sea quite a few times by Manchester City wingers. Do think it's time maybe to give him a little bit of a spell out of the team, give him a little bit of a rest, and utilise Ashley Young and utilise the different fullbacks that we do have. Obviously, there's not a great amount of quality we've got at fullback, but that being said, we do have some options there. So I do think Young will come back into the team after his suspension, which he suffered in the game before Manchester City, and I do think he'll start at left back, but then that brings us into the centre halves, and I do think Branthwaite and Tarkowski will keep that partnership going. Both immense against Manchester City, weren't they? They were both fantastic. We're going to need them to be very physical, very good in the air against Chris Wood, obviously a striker that's in a lot of good form. He's scoring a lot of goals in the league, Chris Wood. So it's going to be quite a difficult test for Tarkowski and Branthwaite to keep him out. But that being said, I do think their partnership is really flourishing now. Obviously, we saw them at the start of the season not playing games together, but the second they've hit a bit of a rhythm, they've seemed to find the form that they found at the back end of last season. So every credit to them. Hopefully they can keep that partnership going. But that's what I think Dyche will opt for with the centre halves. Then moving to right back, I do think Seamus Coleman will keep his place at right back. I thought he did well against Manchester City. Obviously, he was only taken off as a precaution. That's why I'm thinking that Dyche will be looking to use him against Nottingham Forest on Sunday rather than him playing the 90 minutes and maybe Nathan Patterson coming in or Vitaly Mikalenko keeping his place on the left hand side. Do think Seamus Coleman will keep his starting place there at right back, and we know what type of player Seamus Coleman is these days. Obviously, back in the old days when we were watching Seamus Coleman, he was quick, he was pacey, he could keep up with pretty much any winger in the league. We know he's not that anymore, but he's got the footballing brain, he's got the experience to keep these wingers out, and I do think the likes of Hudson-Odoi, Anthony Elanga, Morgan Gibbs-White, they're very similar to Manchester City wingers, for example. So I do think he's going to have his work cut out, but he's got the experience to try and keep them out. So I do think he's going to keep his place in Sean Dyche's team for this one. But that brings us on quite nicely into the midfield, and I'm going to start with Orhan Mangala keeping his place in midfield. I keep saying it, and I keep banging on about it in these reviews or these starting 11 shows that he's just a fantastic player. He's going from strength to strength in an Everton shirt, in my opinion. He's so progressive on the ball. When he gets it into his feet, he looks to turn, he looks to stride forward, and he links up really well with Idrissa Gana Gueye, and that's going to who's I think is going to be alongside him in this Nottingham Forest game. It's going to be Idrissa Gana Gueye with them two in the midfield. I keep saying it as well. They're forming a really good partnership in there. They complement each other quite well. The good things that Idrissa Gana Gueye does, maybe Mangala lacks a little bit in his game, but that being said, I do think that the bits that Idrissa Gana Gueye lacks, Mangala makes up for that with his stride and runs forward, and also how he strikes the ball. So I do think they form a very good partnership in there. And Idrissa Gana Gueye, he breaks up the play so well. He keeps us in games a lot of the time. He's so experienced. He's so smart on the ball. So I think them two will keep their place in midfield and keep that partnership going. And also moving into the sort of further forward attacking role in midfield, I do think Doucouré is going to keep his place also. A good assist against Manchester City, obviously picking out Iliman Ndiaye at the back post. He does just create a structure in that midfield, doesn't he? I think Sean Dyche trusts him to create a structure, set the press, and I think, rather than putting a Dwight McNeil in there, for example, where you maybe lose that structure a little bit because McNeil's a little bit more free flowing, Doucouré seems to be, in the right place at the right time a lot of the time. So I do think Dyche will look to use him against Nottingham Forest and keep him in the side and keep him in midfield there. But that moves us on into the front three, and I do think Jesper Lindstrom will start off the right hand side. Purely a rotation one, this. I do think Jack Harrison has started to look a little bit leggy now. I thought he was poor against Manchester City, in my opinion. Doesn't really offer a lot going forward. Whereas, Lindstrom, when he came on, he was energetic. He was striding forward. He was trying to pick out passes here and there. So I do think it's time for maybe Lindstrom to have a spell back in the team rather than coming on off the bench. But that being said, it's as well. It's a rotation thing as well. It's 2 games in 4 days. You have to use your squad. You have to utilize the players that you've got in your squad and keep legs fresh. So I do think Lindstrom will come in and Dyche will look to use Lindstrom off that right hand side, and then off the left hand side, it's Illiman and Jai. Is there's a little bit of a doubt of whether he's fully fit. He was taken off as a precaution. I would personally maybe give him a little bit of a rest for this one. I know it's a tough game. I know it's a very good game and we're going to need him, but there's going to be games, in the coming weeks where you don't want a big injury from Illiman and Jai, for example. But I do think Dyche will keep him in the team, and I do think he'll keep him off that left hand side. But he's just so good, isn't he, Illiman and Jai? He's so good, so good to watch. Every time you get the ball, you think something's going to happen, and I've not felt that excitement about an Everton player in so long. So it's just good to see, and I do think Dyche will keep him in there, and he's just that little bit of stardust we need maybe to unlock Nottingham Forest. As I said before, because they're a top side, we're going to need to take our chances. But yeah, as we saw against Manchester City, all he needs is one chance to get a goal, and that's exactly what he did. So I think Dyche will keep him off that left hand side, and then moving into the number 9 spot. I do think Armando Broja will start. He came on, he played well against Manchester City. He was, really positive in his running. He was striding forward. Obviously, Manchester City were looking a little bit leggy towards the end of the game. We'd kept them out, we'd frustrated them for so long, and I think that's probably why they were looking a little bit leggy. But that being said, I think Broja came on, looked really good, looked really positive, and wanted to make an impact. Whereas Dominic Calvert-Lewin, in the 60, 70 minutes he played, he didn't really look too interested. He didn't get in the game much. So I do think Armando Broja, it's time to give him a nod here and time to give him an opportunity in the team. And I think Dyche will do exactly that. But that rounds up the starting 11. I'll just go through it one more time. So it's Jordan Pickford in goal, Ashley Young at left back, Jared Branthwaite, James Tarkowski as your 2 centre-halves, and Seamus Coleman at right back. Oren Mangala, Idrissa Gana Gueye and Adelaide Doucouré in midfield. Jesper Lindstrom off the right-hand side, Illiman and Jai off the right-hand side, and Armando Broja up front coming in for Dominic Calvert-Lewin in this game. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Dyche will change anything, a little bit more drastic? Do you think he'll make more changes for this game, or do you think he'll go unchanged once again with Dominic Calvert-Lewin up front? But let me know your thoughts in the comments. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe.